Good morning, students. Welcome to the online classes of Trinity Memorial Senior Secondary School. Today, we are going to start the second section of Unit 5 of our English reader book. The name of the section is A Battle of Monsters. Okay, we'll go through, we'll read the chapter, I'll tell you the explanation of what's there in the chapter actually, and we'll finish the video. Okay, so let's start the chapter. The story of Journey to the Center of the Earth involves a professor who leads his nephew and a hired guide down a volcano in Iceland to the center of the Earth. Basically, there's a story. The name of the story is Journey to the Center of the Earth. There's a story in which there is a professor along with the two persons, that is a nephew and a hired guide to show them the way. Okay, down the volcano in Iceland. Goes through the center of the earth. This is the story. This is the excerpt from that story. They encounter many adventures, including prehistoric, the animals actually that you haven't heard about. Okay, they are even before the history. Okay, they encounter prehistoric animals and natural hazards. Hazards are the problems that occur naturally, like earthquake, flood, cyclone, hurricane. These are the natural hazards. Eventually coming to the surface again in southern Italy, and going through all these difficulties, they reach southern Italy. Okay, this extract describes one of those adventures. Okay, they are telling us about one of those adventures. It is written in the form of a journal. Now, journal is when you write anything date and date wise what is happening on. So we start from Saturday the 15th of August. Okay. The sea unbroken all round, no land in sight. The horizon seems extremely distant. My uncle is in a raging temper. He examines the horizon all around with his glass and folds his arms with the air of an injured man. Now, the writer is saying that the sea is very much large. It is vast. Okay, we can't even see the horizon. That is, horizon is a place where the sun touches the land. Okay, we can see that point when the water and sun meets at a point. So the professor is angry on this. Okay, he examines the horizon all around with his glass, that is magnetic glass, and folds arms with the air of an injured man. That is, he is very angry with himself that he can't find the land now. I remark that Professor Lidenbrock has a tendency to relapse into an impatient mood and make a knot of it in my log. All my danger and sufferings were indeed to strike a spark of human feeling out of him, but now that I am well, his nature has resumed its way. And yet, what cause was there for anger? Now he says that I know Professor very well, and he often gets angry on small issues. Okay, and whenever he's angry, he makes a knot in the log. The log that this journal is deemed as the log. Okay. All the danger and sufferings needed a strike in the spark of human, and now they after all the things that they have went through, now they are resuming their journey. And yet, what cause was there for anger? Now, what is happening when we have caused such difficulties? Why Professor is angry? I don't know. Okay, so it is not the voyage prospering as favorably as possible under the circumstances? Is not the raft spinning along with marvelous speed? Now the author says, what's wrong with the professor? Why he is angry? Is not the journey according to what he had thought? It is very much good because we have went through all the difficulties we have faced. Okay, so the journey is going all along with us. Not even the raft is going slow; it is also running with a speed. You seem anxious, my uncle. I said, seeing him continually with his glass to his eye. Now I said to my uncle that you seem anxious. That means you seem tensed. Okay, and saying the author said this, and watching him continuously with his glass eye to eye. That means in eye to eye contact, the author said these words. Anxious? Not at all. He says tensed? No, not at all. Impatient? Then one might be with less reason than now. That means one may be impatient because of the things going on right now. Okay. yet we are going very fast. What does that signify? What does that mean that we are going very fast? I'm not complaining that the rate is slow, but that the sea is so wide. Now the professor says, I'm not complaining that the speed of the boat is very much slow, but the sea is so wide that I can't see that we are going to reach the surface soon. I then remembered that the professor before starting had estimated the length of this underground sea at 30 leagues. Now we had made 3 times the distance, yet still the southern coast was not in sight. Now he says that I remember before proceeding, before leaving for the journey, uncle had estimated the distance, total distance to be covered was around 30 leagues. But after even completing the 3 times of distance, that is around 90 leagues, we haven't reached the land. Okay, we can't see the southern coast inside. We are not descending as we ought to be. The professor declares, we are losing time, and the fact is I have not come all this way to take a little sail upon a pond on a raft. Now professor says, actually the problem is we are losing time, and that is the main issue, that is the main problem. I'm not here to go through, to pass my time on the raft going over the sea. Okay. He called this sea a pond and our long voyage taking a little sail. Now author says, seriously, the professor is calling out the sea as a pond and our long voyage as a little sail. Seriously, is he joking? But I remarked, since we have followed the road that Ch-2 has shown us. Now says, but since we have followed the long voyage, the path that was shown to us by Ch-2 has shown us. That is just the question. Have we followed that road? Did Ch-2 make the sheet of water? Did he cross it? Has not the stream that we followed led us altogether astray? Now, before the writer could complete, the professor says, actually the writer is professor's nephew. So I'll use nephew here. Okay. So before nephew could complete his words, professor says that seriously, have we seriously followed the road shown to us by Ch-2? No, we have not. So this would create issue. So now the professor says, did he cross the sea here? Did he see the sheet of water here, like we are watching here? Okay, has not the stream that we followed led us all together here? He says that we have followed everything and see where we have reached. At any rate, we can't feel sorry to have come so far. This prospect is magnificent. And now again nephew was going to say that whatever, if we have crossed this much, that is also a big achievement. And before he could complete, professor says, but I don't care for prospects. I don't care what we have achieved. I came with an object and I mean to attain it. That is, I have an aim and I need to complete it. Okay. Therefore, don't talk to me about views and prospects. So don't tell me what is good or what is wrong with our journey. Okay. I take this as my answer and I leave the professor to bite his lips with impatience. Now I thought that this is the answer from professor about being impatient and anxious. So the writer, the nephew, leaves him. Okay. At 6 in the morning, in the evening, Hans asks his wages and it is given to him. Hans is the guide. Now in the evening, Hans was asking for money that he was told for and he was given that. Now Sunday, August 16th, nothing new. Weather unchanged, the wind freshens. Now there was nothing new. Now the weather is also not changing. The wind is fresh now. Truly the sea is of infinite width. That the sea is very much vast. It must be as wide as the Mediterranean or the Atlantic, and why not? Now he says, now that it is as wide as Mediterranean or the Atlantic, and why the sea should not be that much big? It can be. My uncle took sounding several times. He tied the heaviest of our pickaxes to a long rope which he let down 200 fathoms. No bottom yet, and we had some difficulty in hauling up our plummet. Now uncle took sounding several times. He tied the heaviest of the pickaxes. Pickaxes is a sort of anchor to the long rope which he let down around 200 fathoms, that is very much deep inside. And he says, we can't even find the bottom yet. Now, when he took it took him great difficulty. But when the pig was shipped again, that is, the pig was taken back again, Hans pointed out on its surface deep prints as if it had been violently compressed between two hard bodies. I looked at the hunter. Now, when we took back the pig X into the ship, Hans pointed out about something sharp that had pressed it. Okay, the pickaxe was violently compressed between the two hard bodies. Okay. Now, I could not understand him and turned to my uncle who was entirely absorbed in his calculations. Now, the nephew was unable to understand what was happening, and he started watching towards his professor, and the professor was busy in doing some calculations. I had rather not disturb him while he is quiet. Now, he did not dare to disturb his uncle while calculations. I returned to the ice, and he, by snapping motions of his jaws, conveys his ideas to me. Now, hence, the guide tells about what he was thinking about that mark on the pickaxe. Teeth, I cried, considering the iron bar with more attention. Now, the nephew cried, spoken in shouting manner, teeth! Okay. Yes, indeed, those are the marks of teeth imprinted upon the metal. Yes, actually they were the marks of teeth on the metal. Is there some monster beneath us belonging to the extinct races more voracious than the shark, more fearful in vastness than the whale? Now he says, now is it going on? So he says, is there some monster beneath us waiting for us? Is there anything that is that we consider extinct races? Extinct races here is the species that is extinct, that is no more between us. Okay. Is there something more vicious, more dangerous than the shark, more fearful in vastness, more bigger than a whale? Now he was unable to take off the eyes from the iron bar. He was continuously looking at the iron bar. Now Monday is 17th August. I am trying to recall the peculiar instincts of the monsters of the pre-Adamite world, that is prehistoric, I told you earlier, who coming next in succession after the mollusks. The crustaceans and the fishes precede the animals of mammalian race upon the earth. The world then belonged to reptiles. Those monsters held a mastery in the seas of the secondary period. They possessed a perfect organization, gigantic proportions, prodigious strength. Okay. Now he is thinking about the prehistoric animals, and he is reminding himself of the times when there were a lot of reptiles that are not no more with us, but he is reminding himself about the pre-Adamite world, the time when fishes preceded the animals of mammalian race upon the earth. There were very large reptiles in the sea. Okay. The saurians of our day, the alligators and the crocodiles, are but feeble reproductions of the forefathers of primitive ages. Like we see the saurians are the big animals, like we see alligators, crocodiles in the sea. These are the reproductions of the forefathers. Actually, these are very smaller versions. Okay, and in prehistoric times they were very large. I shudder as I recall these monsters to my remembrance. No human eye has ever beheld them living. I saw at the Hamburg Museum the skeleton of one of those creatures 30 feet in length. Am I then fated to be placed face to face with these representatives of long extinct families? No, surely it can't be. Yet the deep marks of conical teeth upon the iron pick are certainly those of the crocodile. Now he started thinking more about the monsters. No human eye has ever beheld them living. That is, nobody has seen them living in living sense. He had seen the leftover remains of skeletons in the Hamburg Museum, but now he was thinking whether he need to be the one to be face to face with such monsters. Is he going to do this? No. He says, no, I certainly hope I should not face these monsters. Now he says, but the deep marks on the marks of conical teeth upon iron pick are certainly of those monsters. Okay, these look like the crocodile's teeth. My eyes are fearfully bent upon the sea. I dread to see one of these monsters jetting forth from its submarine caverns. I suppose Professor Leidenbrock was of my opinion too, and even shared my fears. For after having examined the pig, his eyes traversed the ocean from side to side. What a bad notion that was of his. I thought to myself, to take soundings just here. He had disturbed some monstrous beast in its remote den. I looked at our guns and see that they are all right. My uncle notices it and looks on approvingly. Now the writer, that is the nephew, was very much fearful. He was afraid. So because he thought that these are the dangerous, they are very large monsters and they can easily kill him. He thought that the Professor Lidenbrock had actually done something bad. He had taken the pickaxe and went to the cave where these monsters live. Okay, so actually the professor disturbed the remote tent, the place where they were living, and now they have came out. Now, because the nephew was afraid, he took a look at his guns and just checked if they were all ready. And professor approved him. Yes, go ahead and check your guns if they are working. Already widely disturbed regions on the surface of the water indicate some commotion below. The danger is approaching. We must be on the lookout. Now the water in the sea was moving rapidly, so we got an indication that something is going outside. Something is coming up. So they were ready. Now it's 18th August Tuesday. Evening came. Hans was at the helm. During his watch I slept. Now it was Hans' turn to look out, and during his lookout, the nephew was sleeping. 2 hours after, a terrible shock awoke the nephew. That is, a terrible shock occurred, and the nephew wake up. The raft was heaped up on a watery mountain and pitched down again at a distance of 20 fathoms. Now he saw that the raft was up around 20 fathoms. Around a watery mountain, the raft went on and then pitched again, that is down again. Okay. That is, the raft went on with the water around 20 fathoms and then came back. What is the matter? I shouted my uncle. That what's happening? Have we struck land? Did we reach the land? Hans pointed with his finger at a dark mass 600 yards away, rising and falling alternately with heavy plunges. I looked and cried, "It is an enormous porpoise!" Now Hans pointed towards that monster in the sea around 600 yards away from the raft, and the author, the nephew, says that it is an enormous porpoise. Porpoise is a sea animal. Okay. Yes, replied my uncle. And there is a sea lizard of vast size. And then they said that there is a sea lizard also. And farther on a monstrous crocodile. Look at its vast jaws and its rows of teeth. It is diving down. Now they saw a monstrous crocodile far away. Okay, and they say, look at the vast jaws it has. Okay, there is a whale, a whale. Now professor said that, see, there is a whale also. I can see its great fins. The great fins of whales can be seen by the professor. See how he is throwing out air and water through his blowers. There is a hole on the back of the whale actually, from where it throws out the water and the air. In fact, two liquid columns were rising to a considerable height above the sea. Okay, there were two liquid columns, that is columns. Okay, columns in the form of liquid, that is watery columns. Okay, they were more than the height of the sea. We stood amazed, thunderstruck. Now they all were shocked at the presence of such a herd of marine monsters, because they saw such huge monsters over there. They were of supernatural dimensions. They were very big in size. The smallest of them would have crushed our raft, crew and all, at one snap of its huge jaws. Now, according to them, the smallest monster of all of them could have easily compressed the raft, and could have eaten all the crew, the raft, in just one snap of the huge jaws, like this. Okay. Now, Hans wanted to get away from this dangerous neighborhood, but he sees on the other hand enemies not less terrible. A tortoise 40 feet long and a serpent of 30, lifting its fearful head and gleaming eyes above the flood. Now hence wanted to leave the situation, leave the area now, but on the other side also there was a monster waiting over there. Okay. Flight was out of the question now, so we could not have ran away because on the both sides there were monsters. The reptiles rose, they wheeled around our little raft with rapidly greater than that of express trains. Now the reptiles started wheeling around the raft in a speed more than an express train. I took up my rifle. Now the nephew took the rifle, but what could it do against the scaly armor? Like actually there was a scaly armor, scales over the body of the monster with which these enormous beasts were clad. Both the beasts were having scales on the body that were acting like the armors to them. So the bullet was not going to work on them. We stood dumb with fear. Now they all were afraid. They approached us close. On one side, the crocodile, on the other, the serpent. The remainder of the sea monsters have disappeared. Now, they saw on the one side the crocodile and on the other the serpent. The remainder of the sea monsters disappeared completely because these both monsters were visible now. Now the nephew was prepared to fire, hence stopped him by a gesture not to fire. The two monsters passed within 150 yards to the raft and hurled themselves. Now they were going to actually both of the monsters were enemies to each other and they were going to fight each other now. Okay. At 300 yards from us, the battle was fought. We could distinctly observe the two monsters engaged in deadly conflict. We could easily see that the two monsters were fighting each other in that deadly fight. But it now seems to nephew as if the other animals were taking part in the fray. Now he thought that the other animals were also joining them. The porpoise, the whale, the lizard, the tortoise, every moment I seemed to see one or other of them. So he was able to see one or other of them every moment, whether it's a tortoise, it's a porpoise, it's a crocodile, it's a whale or anything. Okay, he could see them one by one. I point them to the sea Icelander. He shakes his head negatively. He says, no, these are not the other monsters. These are only two monsters. What? Two? Does he mean that there are only two animals? Yes, he's right, says the professor whose glasses has never left his eye. Surely you must be mistaken. I said, no, there are more than two monsters over there. No, the first of those monsters has a porpoise snout. A lizard's head. Snout is the nose. Okay. The lizard's head, a crocodile's teeth, and hence are distinct. So there are only two monsters, both of them having the qualities of different animals. It is the Ichthyosaurus, okay, the fish lizard, the most terrible of the ancient monsters of the deep. And the other, what's the other one? The other is a Plesiosaurus, almost a lizard but not a lizard. A serpent, armored with the carapace and the pedals of a turtle. He is the dreadful enemy of the other, that is Ichthyosaurus. Hence had spoken truly, two monsters only were creating all this commotion. All the problems were created by just two monsters. And before my eyes are two reptiles of the primitive world. So the writer, the nephew, saw the two reptiles of the primitive world in front of his eyes. He could easily distinguish the eye of the Ichthyosaurus glowing like red hot coal and as large as a man's head. Okay, the eye was as large as a man's head. Now, nature has endowed it with an optical apparatus of extreme power and capable of resisting the pressure of the great volume of water in the depths of it inhabits. So the nature had provided it such power that it could do anything actually. It has been appropriately called the saurian whale, for it has both the swiftness and the rapid movements of this monster of our own day. So it was termed as the saurian whale actually because it got all the powers, all the rapidness, the swiftness, the speed, just like we got the whale today. It got all the qualities of the whale. This one is not less than 100 feet long. The length of the saurian whale was around 100 feet. Okay, and I can judge its size when it sweeps over the waters. It can be easily judged. the vertical coils of its tail. Its jaw is enormous. The jaw is really enormous, and according to naturalists, it is armed with no less than 182 teeth. And actually, it got at least 182 teeth in his mouth. The Plesiosaurus, a serpent with a cylindrical body and a short tail, has four flappers. Flappers are just like the fins that move on. Okay. It was a serpent with a cylindrical body and a short tail and had four flappers or paddles to act like oars. Its body is entirely covered with a thick armor of scales. Scales were on the Plesiosaurus, and its neck as flexible as a swan's. Okay, it was very much flexible. Rises 30 feet above the waves. Okay, so this was also a vast monster. Those huge creatures attacked each other with the greatest animosity. That is, they attacked with their full power on each other. They heaped around them liquid mountains which rolled even to outraft and rocket perillously 20 times fewer near capsizing. Hissing so prodigious force are heard. The two beasts are fast locked together. I can't distinguish the one from the other. The probable rage of the conqueror inspires us with intense fear. Now, it is telling us how the rage was happening between the two monsters. They were trying their best. They were using all the might, all the power they had to get through the other monster. Okay, and during this, the professor, the nephew, and the guide, all the three were going through all the problems. Around 20 times they were going to die. Now, 1 hour, 2 hours pass away. Now it's been 2 hours since this is happening. The struggle continues with unabated ferocity. And the struggle continues on. The combatants alternately approach and recede from our raft to remain motionless. Now they went on to actually the combatants alternatively approached. They approached to the raft merely again and again. Okay. And recede from the raft. That is, they came near to the raft and then moved back. Okay. We remain motionless. All were motionless, ready to fire. Suddenly, the Ichthyosaurus and the Plesiosaurus disappeared below. Now they both went inside the sea, leaving a whirlpool eddying in the water. Several minutes pass by while the fight goes on under the water. Now, after several minutes, the fight goes on under the water. All at once, an enormous head is darted up. Now, an enormous head is darted up. That is, there was a very vast head that was darted up, taken out. Now, the head of the Plesiosaurus, the monster is wounded to death. That is, Plesiosaurus was wounded to death by Ichthyosaurus. The monster is wounded to death. I no longer see his scaly armor. They could not see the rest of the body of the Plesiosaurus. Only his long neck shoots up, drops again, coils and uncoils, droops, lashes the water like a gigantic whip, and writhes like a worm that you tread on. That means the rest of the body was down inside the sea, and its head was moving on in the water. Okay. The water splashed for a long way around. The spray almost blinds us, but soon the reptile's agony draws to an end. After some time, the reptile was to the end. Okay, it was down. It was dead. The Plesiosaurus was dead. Its movements become fainter. Its contortions cease to be violent, and the long serpentine form lies a lifeless now it was down. As for the Ichthyosaurus, has he returned to his submarine cavern, or will he reappear on the surface of the sea? Now the writer, the nephew, thinks, what about Ichthyosaurus? Has it returned to its den, or will it again rise to the sea? So that is the extract from that Journey to the Center of the Earth. It was written by Jules Verne. I hope you understand the story in a beautiful manner. I explained the story, and I hope you liked the video. Before leaving, please like the video and share the video if you want. And before leaving, press that notification bell icon for more videos. I hope You will be here again when I post my next video. Till then, take care, have a nice day. Thank you.